All right. Hello, hello. Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome to the last Monday of the month, last Monday of January. And I am so excited to see all the wins and the successes that you guys have been having this month. And I want to encourage you to keep on going with that. Remember to start your month, start February that we're about to go in, like it is the end of the month with all that urgency, all that excitement. Don't let off the pedal. This is when you've built up so much and you're able to go into February strong. So don't forget that going into a new month this week. But today I am so excited to get to continue on with our secrets to six figures. Have you guys been loving this? Like, hasn't this been, yes, incredible? I've walked away from every Monday just inspired, encouraged, and with so much to apply. So today we have the beautiful Marge Martens. She's an incredible diamond in Canada. Where's our Canadians in the comments? I'm so excited to have a Canadian diamond on with us because I know that you guys are the real stuff. You have been through it. First, you survived the cold and the snow, which is, you got to tell us where you live because I remember you telling me stories and it's insane. But you guys bring it when it comes to the business and really having that grit. So I'm excited for that. But to kick us off first, we always want to start with a testimony because this is why we are here, right? Why we get to learn about earning six figures because we have incredible products that change people's lives that we get to be a mouthpiece for. So we always want to inspire and hear that. So we have a special here. We have a man. We love hearing men testimonies. We don't get enough of them on our Zooms. So thank you, Ryan, for offering to share with us. If you want to go ahead and unmute and just share what Plexus products have done for you.
Hello. Hi, Amber.
Hey.
Hello, ladies. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I'm Ryan. I am Tamara's wonderful husband. And I'm going to tell you about the products. She basically drugged me. And I was basically skeptical on them really working. And I suffered from IBS. I was in a really stressful environment, worked in a prison and a lot of violence and stuff with that. And I suffered from IBS, not being able to sleep. Um, so with that, I started taking the products with my wonderful wife drugging me. And
I just put it in his drink. I didn't drug him. I just told him, open up Buttercup. That's all I said.
so with that, I started seeing results right away. Started sleeping better. My mood started being better. My IBS is like no longer an issue. And what? She's talking in my ear over here, so it's hard to concentrate. But basically, I just think the products are wonderful, and they've made me a healthier person. And I just think it's a shame not to share them with everybody because they really help people to be healthier and just better people all in all. So
Yeah.
that's
Thank
it.
Thank you. I love it. Short, sweet, to the point. This is what I love. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I know I hear a lot like, is this for men too? And I'm always, yes, yes, yes. They need it just as much. So thank you for sharing that, Ryan, and kicking us off with that inspiration of why we share and what these do.
Yeah,
Um,
one more thing. There's
yeah.
just a lot of men out there. Like I just hear them over and over again. A lot of them are just like their guts and stuff are just messed up.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I know that all you ladies are out there getting it, but the guys need it too.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah. Thank you for that reminder. Yes. If you haven't put up men testimonies lately, do that as you're closing out this month and you have those people on the fence. Women want their husbands to feel great and thrive, right? We want that for our men and our spouses and um, our sons. So put up some men testimonies. That's a great idea right there. But thank you, Ryan. Okay, with that, we're gonna go into the beautiful Marge. Marge, I'm just going to pass it over to you. If you could tell us a little bit about where you are, where you were before plexus, what the income has done. And then, like I told Marge before we started, she's allowed to bring the heat, right? We want the reality, what it is to earn six figures, what that means. And if you're new here on this call, don't let any of this intimidate you. We like to say that because we're talking about earning a six-figure income here. So if you are just wanting to earn a couple $100s, like that would be a big help for your house. That is simple and doable. We have all those easy steps for you, but this is taking that to the next level, right? So Marge, with that, take it away.
Thank you so much, Amber. I'm so honored to be here. I was watching all these people get on. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what am I doing here? Right? We all have those thoughts. And so feel better. I have those thoughts too. I'm honored to share this. And yes, it's definitely not a story of, oh, I just posted a pink drink and boom, it happened. That didn't happen. So I'm going to take you through, I put some thought into this and I wasn't quite sure of where I should start, what I should actually all share, what I shouldn't share. I'm going to go off of my heart a little bit and then I have some notes. So again, Amber, thank you for inviting me. And yes, Canadian winters are really weird, especially this year, because last week we had minus 54 Fahrenheit, which is like ridiculous numbers, I know. And now the snow is melting. So we're not quite sure what's going on this winter. But I am in northern Alberta, at the very tippy top of Alberta in Western Canada. And I'm about 2 hours from the Northwest Territories border. So almost all the way up there, right? And lived here all my life, born and raised, was a truck driver's daughter. And I, learned to work from a very young age. And so I'm going to start a little bit of where life was before plexus and just, the things that we moms often all encounter. And I'll just go briefly on that because some of you will catch the in-between things that I'm talking about, right? So I was a working mom and I had 3 kids and I was a very tired mom. I'll say that. I volunteered in different various places because I wanted so badly to be involved in my kids' lives. But since I had a day job, I often had to volunteer in evenings and things like that. I wanted to be there when my kids were growing up, And so that meant giving up more time. We did a lot of outdoor stuff. We did a lot of making firewood with our kids because we heated with wood. We had gardens. We did canning. All those things were always, on our docket. We were outside people. We both grew up on a farm and we wanted those things for our kids too. I liked my life. I really did. But I was really sad and disappointed when I was getting towards the end of my 30s, where I had lost a very special friend to brain cancer. Just a lot of hard years in a row there. And I was kind of finding myself facing my 40s a little dejected and just feeling like, man, why aren't we further than what we are? It was such a treadmill of life, and I so often grieved the things that we couldn't do with our kids. I wanted so many experiences for their childhoods and not just the money. You need money to do anything, right? And so I was sick a lot and I really hated that. I was a very resilient, tough person, but very frustrated that my body often wasn't working well. And I felt so guilty when my family needed to step in and help me because I couldn't be there for them or I couldn't do what was required, or so I thought, of a mom, right? And so many times I felt like there's got to be something more. There's got to be a way that we can do this better. And there's got to be a way to make some extra money, that it doesn't have to be so hard. So several years prior to that, we had decided that my husband would be working locally in town and that way he could be home. If you know where I live, there's a lot of forestry and work that takes the men outside of the home. And we really didn't want that. We did that for the first 10 years of our married life. And we really, really wanted mom and dad to both be together. And that's the story of why we were both working, right? And so enter plexus. And when I first saw it, I was like, scrolled by. I didn't need a weight loss supplement. I needed to actually just be healthier, right? But then I saw the words of energy and sleep. And that was the hook, right? I hadn't been sleeping. I didn't have energy. And that's all I saw. I wanted to show up better for my family. And so my job and my responsibilities, often I felt I could do better if I would feel better, right? Like those things often brought shame to me because, well, I mean, like, what would people think if I didn't do my job well, right? Like, there's an element of pride that we moms hold in doing the things that we do. And often it's because we're not slowing down to take care of ourselves. And so we can't show up properly in what we need to be doing, right? And so here came Plexus, and I found so much more, so much more. The products just helped me really open my eyes to, and I had been like holistically raised and so many natural remedies. I had a huge knowledge already, but hadn't found the right tools, right? And so I immediately realized the importance of gut health, and I had very quick results, fortunately. But I didn't share right away. You know, that's the funny part of sometimes we make those decisions to not share right away. But I remember just thinking, I haven't felt this good in years. And then I shared with Sheila about 6 months in, and I said, you have to do this. Sheila is my oldest daughter. She is married. She's an emerald in my team now. And so that's kind of where it started. And then I told a few more people, and then people knew me. So they started asking, what are you doing? You look different, right? People see light in your eyes when it hasn't been there before. And so I started posting and sharing, and my influence was pretty wide in my community. I had been in the face of the community for multiple years, working as a postal worker and, insurance office admin, things like that. And so I had a lot of people join quite quickly, and most everyone kind of went silver organically. And here's where I'm going to start sharing what it took to build this business to the top, because there's a difference between just sharing and kind of getting your warm market involved, and then to actually build all the way to the top. And so if you can imagine, my little remote community only has about like 5,000 people. The surrounding community is pretty big, but there's not a whole lot of people surrounding me. I am about 7 hours away from the nearest city. So it's always like, we're quite removed and quite remote. And so I would say my number one tip today would be to always grow your market. Always look outside of where you are currently. There is a world full of people out there, and your warm market will be only a short growth, right? And many won't want to grow with you. That's just kind of the reality of it. In fact, a short while after I had started building and I was doing quite well, I was ranking up and growing my team. My local community actually turned against Plexus when they realized that I was in it to make money. Now, finances was the other major issue that we were dealing with in our lives. We lived paycheck to paycheck and often dollar to dollar and dime to dime. And I would budget so carefully and just pray it wouldn't be too cold, that the heating bill would be way more than what I had calculated for. That's how we lived for very many years, and so when people realize that you're in it to make money, it shifts the elements a little bit. And so, somehow some people think it's more humble and Christian-like to help people when you don't get paid. And so I had to overcome a lot of that. And I had to decide to not be hurt by this and not allow it to stop me. I could have stopped right there, and I could have just said, well, this is the community that I live in. I'm just going to do what's acceptable here. Or I can see the wide open potential everywhere around me, further than where I live, right? And my first real big failure I felt was when at Senior Ruby, I dropped down to almost under Senior Gold. I think I just barely kept Senior Gold points. And I was so dejected and so disappointed. And why would these people not see this amazing opportunity? And how many people were feeling better? And, those were all the thoughts that were running through my mind, right? And I sat down with my upline, Eva and Kristen, and they basically said, well, buckle up, Buttercup, here we go. And Kristen challenged me to go sponsor 10 new level ones, not in my community, and help them go silver. And guys, that was my next season of growth. And I leaned in and I did it hard because I knew that was the only way that I would actually be building a business within Plexus because I couldn't rely just on growing my own warm local market, right? And so my number 2 factor became a huge learning curve. And I'm going to call it grow your own self-awareness. Become really good at leading yourself because how you're going to be leading yourself is how you will be leading others. And guys, we all have to be really honest. I have had to be super honest with myself. I have had to do a lot of personal growth in order to help other people achieve their goals as well, right? And so become good at leading yourself. Be honest with yourself because sometimes we avoid things that we know about ourselves that we actually should be facing and really dealing with. I have a little pieces of John Maxwell. You're going to hear a couple pieces of John Maxwell. He's been such a mentor to me over the last 10 years that I feel like that man has such value to teach anyone, right? And so he says, we tend to judge others according to their actions and results. We often see our observations as very cut and dried. However, we judge ourselves by our intentions. Isn't that crazy that we do that? And so that one really stood out to me early on when I learned about self-awareness. If we believe our motives were good, we let ourselves off the hook. We willingly do this over and over before we require change of ourselves. And so I knew it was up to me. I knew it was up to me to do this if I was going to do that. This is where people say, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. Accountability starts with yourself. And if you have to require action, your own action, before you ask others to do it with you, right? And so I knew that my own self-awareness would have to be the big piece in helping me see of how to move forward with other people as well. And then number 3, see your people's goals as yours. You will never rise to success alone, regardless of how driven you are. Guys, I was driven. I very often heard the comment of, I don't know how you do all this. That's not the point. The point is, why are you doing it? My why was big enough. And if we're going to be really honest with ourselves, we all have a why. We all have a why that is big enough that would propel us to be driven. Sometimes we become apathetic. We become, I'm used to this. You know, it's always been this way. Or you made it a certain distance and you're like, well, it's better than what it used to be. Guys, we can't stay there. We cannot stay there. My why was really, really big. And I never, ever wanted to be scared that I could not pay my utility bills again. I laid awake at night for so many years worrying about where I would buy shoes for the kids, you know? Like those things trumped all our health issues, and we had some pretty big ones. And so a mistake I made was expecting others to run like I did. And then not slowing down to speed up, right? You got to slow down to bring the people with you and then speed up together, because then your force is going to be so much bigger. And so even when you are driven to succeed, your biggest flex will always be how well you will be able to help others achieve their goals. And so I started lying awake at night thinking about my team and thinking about how I could possibly help them more to grow and that they too could achieve their dreams, right? And so your eyes and your heart have to see the goals of your team while still focusing on paying yourself first. Find the people that want to do this with you and allow their strengths to help you grow too. Never be the best person in the room. There's so much to learn from each person on your team, and the strengths that they bring to your table is such an honor to learn that. And so number 4, here comes the big words that we always use, balance. And it's so funny how, sacrifice and balance were 2 words that I threw around often in the times of where I really wanted to progress faster than what I was. It took me 7 years to go diamond in Canada. And I had multiple setbacks. I had multiple seasons of incredible momentum. And I felt like during those 7 years, it was taking too long. And then I remember it was almost my 6th anniversary. No, it was almost my 7th anniversary. I'm quickly going to put this story in here. And I was outside shoveling snow. It was the end of December when my Plexus anniversary was coming up. And I said, God, why is it taking so long? Like, isn't there something that we can do that, can we not go diamond now? Like, I was kind of complaining to God a little bit about how long it was taking. And then all of a sudden, I just felt it in my heart. 7. 7 is God's perfect number. Wouldn't that be amazing if my team could go diamond on the 7th year of when I had decided to commit to this? And guys, we did. 6 months later. 6 months later, we went diamond, right? So number 4, I was talking about sacrifice and balance. And many talk about wanting this business with balance. Yes, honestly, I would have loved that too. In a perfect world, I would have loved that too. But let me be really, really honest about some facts, because if you really look at people that are super successful and do things that others have not achieved, those are the 1% of the world that goes on to be super successful. 1%, guys, that's not a whole lot, right? The one thing that those 1% of people have in common is that they work like nobody else worked to achieve that. I don't think the word balance fell into their conversation a whole lot in the times that they were really serious about getting to a goal, right? And so you want brain surgeon money, and that doesn't come easy. If you talk to a brain surgeon, how many years did they go to school? How much debt do they have by the time they're actually just starting out as an intern, right? There's so much invested until they actually make brain surgeon money. And then think about how many years they pay off debt before they actually make brain surgeon money. We can do that here without all of that. You can really, really grow yourself and learn to lead well and bring a huge team of people to success if you want to. But balance might not be the best word to use the first couple of years of where you are truly leaning in and doing the hard things. You will have times of absolute chaos. And I'll be very honest, my life had a lot of chaos during the times of where we were heavy building. You will have chaos and you will have a lot of heavy momentum if you really, really lean in, and lots of growth, to the exact polar opposite to quiet valleys of wondering, do I even know how to sponsor a person? Because that's business. That's normal. The ebbs and flows of this business come and go, and you are the pivotal piece that makes it happen. And so embrace the chaos, be willing to say no to the small to be able to say yes to the big. And Amber, I think I'm going over.
No, you're great. You're great.
Okay, good. I obviously had a little bit too much written down. My goal was always time. I had the word time in front of me. I wanted a life where I didn't have to live around someone else's clock. That was my biggest piece. Was we had lived all of our married years on that alarm clock and that alarm clock and that schedule and that schedule. And it was always just the missing pieces in between that we got for ourselves. And when I saw the opportunity of time being mine, not time freedom, because you still work for your own time, but time being mine, that was a huge deal to me. And if I could see that, we can make this happen, I went for it. I said no for years to going anywhere with, that wasn't in my realm of we're building right now. And so I'm going to share a couple things that I really cut out of my life in order to make more room for more business, simply because I knew what I did now, saying no to the small things, would really, really grant me the opportunity to say yes to the big things, right? And so I said no for years to going anywhere without cell reception. I just felt like it wasn't fair to my team. I needed to be available when they were working and they needed help. And so I just didn't, and living where I live, that meant a lot of no's. I said no for years ever to go camping or away over month end because I was committed to my team and to my goals. I needed to be there and be with them over month end. I said no many times when people stopped in at my house or in my backyard and, hey, let's have a campfire, or how are you doing? And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm booked. Like, I have an appointment. And if that appointment was with myself, I still honored that. I sat down to finish my IPA before I went and enjoyed that time with them. If I had a call planned, I continued that call. I would close my office door and finish what I had committed to because I knew that I needed to do those things in order to keep on growing, right? And so there has to be no excuses about your circumstances. Your circumstances are what is going to propel you forward. It was even when we still did it, right? And so, like I already said, I lived far away from the city, and usually if we did events, they always required driving. And so I committed to that, knowing that if I would commit, my team would as well. The value of always going to convention and making sure that that was a really big priority that my team understood was going to propel their business forward. We always traveled, you know, all that extra time to the airport and back, and all that driving time, even in winter when it's crazy out there. But that is a commitment that I decided was very important to build my business. And then number 5 is mindset. You've heard this a million times. It's been said over and over and over. And sometimes I have to stop myself and say, but what about mindset, right? If this business is 20% skill and 80% mindset, but what are we actually doing to develop that mindset? You know, like we can sit down and do a book study and be just blown away. This is so good. I love this so much. I'm going to implement all of this. We can listen to a podcast and just be so impacted. I needed this. Can I ask you a month later what that was? Or did you remember it? Because sometimes we just don't. Sometimes we do not stop to actually learn something and implement it, right? And so I highly encourage you, if there is something that you're finding really hard, focus on growing that by doing. It's so easy to learn something and then just let it go, you know, walk away from it and you forget about it. And that's why action cures everything. I love Brenda Martens saying, no amount of training consumption will ever grow your business. Your brain will tell you all the things that you aren't good at and you could fail at, and all the comparison and the lies and doubt, they're all readily available. Everything is there. What you get to choose to do is your own action. You get to put your foot on the gas and you get to decide of how to show up for yourself and how much action you are actually going to do, because that is the one thing that is going to move the needle forward. And you get to choose what to allow. So you decide to commit. You commit not to quit on yourself. Your brain will be the hardest thing to train. This is where taking action will set everything in motion. And so again, simple, easy thing. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. Don't stop. Just like Amber said at the beginning of the call, take your momentum from the end of the month and roll it into the beginning of the month. There needs to not be any difference, right? I committed to myself to do 5 reach outs a day, to do 10 follow-ups a day, to post or do a reel, to plan an event, to do a training call, whatever it was, that was my list and I committed to it, right? The actions are always the same. There's so many resources out there. You do not need to be doubting what actions to take. They will always be the same. Your IPA doesn't really ever have to change if you focus on the 4 pillars of growth, right? And so your own self-awareness level will help you not turn your thoughts into drama and emotions and uncalled for feelings, which we do so easily sometimes. Talking to the choir here, I've had my fair share of inside drama going on in my head and all the feelings coming up and all the things that I felt unjustified for, right? And so often we have to step back a little bit, step outside of the circle and just gain perspective. Like, what really matters? Constantly focus on what you want to grow, and what you focus on will be growing. So my very first training in Plexus ever I don't even know if you were there, Amber. You might have been, I'm not sure. Was a trip to Minnesota where Sonia Dudley did a mindset training, and she had just recently become a John Maxwell certified trainer. Now, I was not the mom that traveled alone. I was not the mom that drove to the city alone, never mind catch an airplane alone. I went with Eva and several friends, and it was very, very outside of my comfort zone. But I believed and I trusted my uplines that this is what you do to grow. And I had had a little bit of a taste of success, and watching them inspired me so much. And I had no idea how much it would impact me, what that training was. It was so incredible to have actual mindset training when life had always been kind of just reactive, right? And so my eyes and heart were open so far. It impacted my whole growth journey that I had that at the beginning. So be willing to invest in yourself. Get some good training, because to help you conquer some of the lifelong beliefs, doubts, lies, whatever you're struggling with, that you hold over yourself, then we choose to heal ourselves. The more that you heal yourselves, the more you will be able to help other people. And so I went from, who am I to think I can do this, to who do you think you are that I couldn't? It was a huge shift for me, right? And again, I say choose to build your mindset and surround yourself with people that are as well. That's a really big deal of who you surround yourself with. And so number 6 is also a big one that I struggled with a lot. I touched upon it a little bit before when I said that my community had actually turned against Plexus. Please don't wait for people to understand what you are trying to achieve. Don't wait for others. I see so many people staying in the hurt because someone said that they didn't believe in what they were doing, or someone really hurt them. And we had several incidences that were extremely painful. We had to process our way through that as well. You are the 1%. Their criticism or judgment tells you that they're not. And so who are you going to focus on, right? I'm going to touch on 2 places that are really, really impactful. I know that you might have more, but number 1 is family. And I'm going to add friends into that category as well. And I'll just give you some perspective. I have no family that supports my business. 0. Besides my own daughter that I brought into Plexus with me, right? And I have no drama about that. I have absolutely no drama. I love them. They are good people. Don't force people to grow with you. Their journey is not yours. And so often we stop because of this, right? It's more impactful for them to watch you do it than for you to try to convince them to do it with you. And so often I chose to be quiet, regardless of what was being said. Do not feed the fire. Please do not feed the fire in retaliation and in response to feeling hurt. I know those times. It's very tempting. There's no need to flaunt anything in front of them to make them want what you have, but be humble and let them be surprised when you succeed. It is the best surprise ever. Quickly going to share a little bit of a story. In oh gosh, I don't even know the year it was, but when John sold his business after we went Sapphire, small community, everybody knew him. The biggest question was, what are you doing now? And he's like, not sure, we'll see. And then a banker friend came to him as he was puttering outside, drove by and stopped in and said, so you sold your business, hey? And John's like, yeah, sure did. So what now? We'll see, we'll give it some time. He had nothing, he had no pressing agenda that he had to go do something immediately. He was going to go do something that he wanted to do. We finally had achieved that time figure, right? And then he said, so I actually heard the other day that you guys make residual income, hey? And John said, we have right from the beginning. And he was shocked. So this was a banker that works with money and businesses all his life, finally clued in after how many years that we actually made residual income. That's how people learn. They're not all going to learn with you on day one. Some of them will take years. And the less that you flaunt yourself and say things about it, the more surprised they will be. And it's been good to do it that way, because then they become genuinely happy for you. And so the other piece, I'm going to talk to my lady friends here a little bit. This is your spouse, your husband. This is such an important one. Oh, my heart. This is a very unique business. This is a place of where women can make a lot of money, go through a lot of growth, and do really hard things. You can do this times 10 when you have the backup of your spouse. And so I've seen it go both ways, and it's really devastating to see when it doesn't work, right? I feel like we have worked really hard on this piece, and we have built a very good business where me and John do everything together. And it's a thing that I never ever thought that Plexus would offer us. And we now hold that in our hands. And I consider that to be a very dear thing that Plexus has given us, our time together. And so I'm speaking to my lady friends out there of how you are going to present your business to your husband. This is a very, very important piece, because many tend to get this wrong only because they so desperately want them or their spouse on board, right? And so, number one, never ever convince your spouse to believe. Show them proof. Prove to them what you are doing, right? And number two, one of the biggest setbacks I feel happens a lot is telling your spouse that you're going for it, but avoiding doing the hard personal growth that it takes to succeed. And we know that it will, right? Men are here to protect us. They don't want to see you get hurt. If they see you investing a lot of time and then complaining to them of how hard it is, and not actually bringing in the money that you say that you could bring into your household, they will likely not support you. They'll probably even say, why don't you just quit? Because it's too hard. But here's the thing, we have to choose to be open with our spouse, even if they're not the ones building this business. You know what, friends, they are usually the one person in your life that knows you a little bit better than what you sometimes know yourself. And that bites at times. But it's a really good thing. So be open to their advice. Men can usually see us better than we often can ourselves, or they can look into a situation that you're really struggling with, and they can offer up critical advice if we are willing to listen. We have to be willing to listen and then apply it, right? And then share with your spouse of what it will take. Build that vision together. Bring them in with your dreams. Speak of those dreams to them, right? When I started talking time freedom to John, he was like, what? I'm not supposed to work anymore? Well, it took a lot of years to create it. And so over those years, we were able to develop that dream together. And when it happened in perfect timing. And he was ready for it, right? And so the more that we talk about the possibilities and what we're growing toward together, the more they're going to support you in making that happen. And that's going to look like doing dishes. That's going to look like helping with laundry. That's going to look like cleaning up the house and saying, Mom's busy, she has a call tonight. That's going to open up so many opportunities for you guys to work together, right? And then the last piece on this is set boundaries for time alone together. Always, always make sure that you have uninterrupted time with your spouse, not with your phone dinging away, just with them to fill each other's buckets. That's such an important part. And so I'm quickly going to end up with these extra things that I did to grow my business into a long-term growth-minded people group. I feel like Plexus has given us the vision right from the beginning to be long-term minded. Number one, with our supplements, and number two, with our business, right? And so there, I felt like I couldn't leave out that piece simply because I feel like we're at a pivotal place in Plexus right now where I truly feel that there's a huge season of growth coming. And I think we should be ready. I think we should prepare our people with the right mindset to go there, right? And so there was more things that I did in our lives and during that growing season, but I think the biggest thing there, we all know that we can work together and we can make those things happen. Whether it looks like cutting out hobbies for a while, I didn't garden for a while. Whether it looks like, you know, like I said, not going away over a certain time to not have reception, those are the sacrifices that you can make. But when you are talking to the people that you are bringing in, we have to have a long-term mindset. We have to cast that vision that we're going to be here for a long time yet, right? And Amber's been here since I was in the beginning as well. And I remember when I started, we were all talking, in 10 years, I'm going to still be talking plexus. Guess what I'm doing today? I'm still talking plexus. And it's been 10 years for me already. And I'm so grateful for that. And I want to be here 10 years from now still. I still want to be here 10 years from now. And we get to build that. Okay. And so this isn't a flash in the pan company. We set the tone. We set the tone of how we present, of who we are. When we say plexus is different, make sure that you know how. I had the privilege last week of going to headquarters in Arizona as a Canadian leader and sitting down with corporate, with Jean and Alec and several others, and really looking into what it's going to look like for Canada to keep building. Canada is such an untouched market, like barely even dipped our toes into that market, right? And so we really want Canadians to really get on board and start growing. And a big thing that we brought to the table was long-term vision. We have to bring long-term vision. We have to talk to people that they want to be here a year from now. They want to be here for a year, 5 years from now. That's what we call creating lifers, right? We could be self-serving and just, you know, quickly sponsor 3 people and, oh, look, I got a cool cup, right? That's all good and fine, and it's quick money in your pocket. But what are we not giving those people if they come in and they leave shortly after? We're not giving them that long-term legacy business, the possibility that their life could be transformed as well. Mine was. I owe it to them too, you know? And so protect the reputation of Plexus with everything that you have, because they want to be there as long as we're going to be there. And if this is the message that we are giving the people, that, guys, just take a look at our compensation plan. I mean, like, it is like no other company out there. And there's so many companies out there that are hurting right now, and Plexus is fine. Doesn't that speak volumes? And so if you're building your country, regardless of it being USA or Canada or Australia, New Zealand, Mexico, wherever it is, people have a great need right now. Such a huge need right now. Your belief and your energy is going to transfer to your teams. So start believing today that you have the capacity and the abilities to be a diamond. You have the ability to do even more. And I know that because I did it. And so I know that you can too. So be willing to go for the hard. Hard isn't bad.
Yeah.
That's all I have, Amber.
Thank you so much. It was, yeah, everyone's applauding. That was absolutely amazing, Marge. So much wisdom, so many things that we don't often talk about too, which I love, bringing in the spouse and different ways to work that way. So, and it just sounds like, if you can sum up your journey, a lot of sacrifice and a lot of grit, right? And a lot of growth. And I love, if you guys, to recap that, she's at the tippy top of Canada, tiny little community, right? A community that kind of turned against her, it sounds like, and was unsupportive, no supportive family members, went from senior ruby to back to senior gold. Like, that is so much to push through, right? So if you're and took 7 years, if you're sitting over there and you're thinking, I've had this experience and it's taken this long, I haven't done this. I love when Marge said, be honest with yourself. Have you actually been in action? Are you actually doing the hard things? sending the messages, growing, stepping outside of your comfort zone, right? Like be honest. It's not just intentions. I love that quote you said. But you did so many hard things, sacrificed, and now you get to experience that time and financial freedom for the rest of your life. Like that's what I tell people, like it's a legacy business. When you said 10 years from now, right? This doesn't go away on us. And I love that. Thank you so much, Marge. There's so many more things I could say with that, including the fact that 7 years, you're still being paid that entire time. Like that's what I love about this industry too, right? Every single month that you weren't diamond yet, you were still getting paid for where you were at. I love that. But thank you, Marge, for the reminder to be an example as well to people that are watching us, and to be responsible with what we have. So thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you. And everyone on here, what are you going to do that's hard tomorrow? Decide that. What are you going to do that's hard and pushes you and challenges you tomorrow? And be like Marge, right? So thank you so much.
For having me.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone. We'll see you next Monday for our next call and into February. All right. Love you all. Thank you. Bye. Thank you, Marge.